The origins of Christmas. The origin of Christmas stemmed from pagan festivals like the popular Roman Saturnalia, the predecessor of Christmas, which celebrated winter solstice. In the early pre-Christian era, winter celebrations were very popular and followed pagan rituals. Paganism in Europe celebrated light in the darkest days of winter, the winter solstice. The middle of winter has long been a time of celebration around the world, centuries before the arrival of a man called Jesus. Early Europeans celebrated light and birth in the darkest days of winter. Many people rejoiced the winter solstice, when the worst of the weather was behind them and they could look forward to longer days and extended hours of sunlight. In Scandinavia, the Norse celebrated Yule from December 21st, the winter solstice, through January, in recognition of the return of the sun. Fathers and sons would bring home large logs, known as Yule logs, which they would set on fire. The people would feast until the log burned out, which could take as many as 12 days. The Norse believed that each spark from the fire represented a new pig or calf that would be born during the coming year. The end of December was a perfect time for celebration in most areas of Europe. At this time of year, most cattle were slaughtered so they would not have to be fed during the winter. For many, it was the only time of year when they had a supply of fresh meat. In addition, most wine and beer made during the year was finally fermented and ready for drinking. In Germany, people honored the pagan god Odin during the midwinter holiday. Germans were terrified of Odin as they believed he made nocturnal flights through the sky to observe his people and then decide who would prosper or perish. Because of his presence, many people would choose to stay inside. Most Christmas customs, the decorating of the evergreen Christmas tree, the hanging of mistletoe, gift exchanges, and Santa Claus, all came from pagan winter practices and secular traditions that were celebrated throughout Europe. Christmas, as we know today, is not only a mix of ancient pagan practices and hundreds of years of adopted secular and religious traditions, it also has a Victorian period influence that affected the practice and acceptance of Christmas. In the early 17th century, a wave of religious reform changed the way Christmas was celebrated in Europe when Oliver Cromwell and his Puritan forces took over England in 1645. They vowed to rid England of decadence and, as part of their effort, canceled Christmas. By popular demand, Charles II was restored to the throne, and with him came the return of the popular holiday. The Pilgrims, English separatists that came to America in 1620, were even more orthodox in their Puritan beliefs than Cromwell. As a result, Christmas was not a holiday in early America from 1659 to 1681. The celebration of Christmas was actually outlawed in Boston. Anyone exhibiting the Christmas spirit was fined 5 shillings. By contrast, in the Jamestown settlement, Captain John Smith reported that Christmas was enjoyed by all and passed without incident. After the American Revolution, English customs fell out of favor, including Christmas. In fact, Christmas wasn't declared a federal holiday until June 26, 1870. However, on December 6, 1999, federal judge, U.S. District Judge Susan J. Dolt, ruled that Christmas had become so secular that the government does not violate the Constitution by declaring it a federal legal holiday. The birth of Jesus. Many people mistakenly state that Jesus is the reason for the season. They do so because they believe people have lost sight of the true meaning of Christmas. This simply is not true. Nowhere in the New Testament do we see Jesus' disciples observing his birthday. Jesus wasn't born on December 25th. The apostles did not honor pagan rituals and accordingly preached to other Christians to avoid the pagan rituals. As a result, the early Christians did not observe Jesus' birthday. No one knows the birth of Jesus, or even what year. Jesus, according to many historians, was born in the springtime. Taking a closer look at the Bible's text, we realize that Luke 2:8, shepherds keeping watch over their flock by night, can only mean one thing. Jesus' birth had to have occurred in the spring. This is because shepherds would only watch their flocks both day and night during the lambing season. But by the early 4th century, church leaders decided they needed a Christian alternative to rival popular solstice celebrations. They chose December 25th as the birth of Jesus Christ and held the first recorded Feast of the Nativity in Rome in AD 336. Whether they did so intentionally or not, church leaders directly challenged a fellow upstart religion by practicing the Nativity on December 25th. The cult of Mithras celebrated the birth of their infant god of light on the very same day. Christianity's purpose was to replace the pagan celebrations with the Christian one. Yes, Christians, it's hard to swallow, but it's true. Today, Christmas has evolved into being a multicultural, multi-religious holiday celebrated throughout the world. In the U.S., over 90% of the population celebrates Christmas. Depending on the nation and local customs, it integrates sun worship, polytheism, pagan nature, religions, Christianity, and other late myths and traditions. Christmas has now become, for the most part, a secular holiday and a commercial enterprise with many mass-produced symbols and decorations, including Santa Claus's red uniform, designed by Coca-Cola. The celebration of Christmas is enjoyed by nearly everyone. The non-religious celebrate the joyous traditions, the Christians believe Christmas has something to do with Jesus' birth and celebrate religious rituals. The pagans celebrate nature and the tie-in with winter solstice. Commercial enterprises enjoy the profits from the sale of decorations, symbols, and gifts. I personally believe a man named Jesus that is mentioned in the New Testament never existed. So Christians, when you hear media outlets or people in general saying there is a war on Christmas, remember the true history of Christmas. You created your so-called war, not the secularists. We uphold